How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tear Talk. Guys, I gotta add an update to my timeline in the Clayton Dietz case. If you guys aren't familiar with this case, it's a 11-year-old boy shoots his adopted father in the head pretty much in the middle of the night, kills his adopted father. Looks like the argument is over a Nintendo Switch. Supposedly the child was looking for the Nintendo Switch. He got mad that his adoptive father took it away, and then basically shoots his father in the head while he sleeps. Well, that's what he's being accused of doing. I have a whole playlist on this that I am going to put up. Let me just make sure I have it. Clayton Dietz, where are you? Let me just find it, because what I want to do is I want to post. Oh, there it goes. I'm going to post the Clayton Dietz playlist up on my community board. Again, if you guys are not familiar with this case, I would recommend that you don't watch this video and go back to my very first discussion. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of put out the facts where we're at right now, watch a quick little video. But in the other videos, we even had a mental health expert come on, and we talked about someone of this age, 11 years old, committing such a crime. What's your thoughts as charging him for an adult? Should be charged as a child? How much could the kid actually know what he was doing? Could this have been premeditated? Could an 11-year-old premeditate? I mean, we covered a lot in that discussion. So I would definitely recommend, if you really want to dive deep in this case and really get to know a lot about this case, check out the whole playlist, please, because it's got a lot more information than what I'm going to provide now, a lot more detailed conversation. But let me play this video first and then give you the most recent updates.
Hey, Clayton, we want to hear from you. What happened that night? How are you holding up, Clayton?
That's the 11-year-old accused of shooting his adopted father, heading into court, facing the judge today. Thanks for being here at 6. I'm Joel D. Smith. You heard the voice of Lily Sexton trying to talk to Dietz on the way into the courtroom as they discuss those charges. Here's Lily right now with more of what we learned today. Lily.
That's right. Today was the first time we got to hear from the lawyer representing 11-year-old Clayton Dietz. Now, they waived inside the courtroom. Dietz waived his right to this preliminary hearing as family members gathered for the child's first day in court. This is Clayton as he walked into the courtroom, accused of shooting his adopted father back in January. Hey, Clayton, we want to hear from you. What happened that night? How are you holding up, Clayton? He had no comment outside. According to police, the shooting happened in the middle of the night on January 13th. On Clayton's 11th birthday. Police say Clayton was upset that he was told to go to bed without his Nintendo Switch. Now, during today's preliminary hearing, Clayton and his attorney had the opportunity to convince a judge that there was not enough evidence to bring this case to trial. They decided to waive that right. The judge asked Clayton directly if he was sure of this decision. The child responded yes. The entire proceeding lasting under 5 minutes. Clayton was then escorted out, handcuffs on his hands and feet. Tripping over himself, he told his mother, quote, "It hurts." I spoke to his lawyer. He said he had no comment on their decision to waive today's hearing, but laid out his plans for the trial.
My goal is going to be to try and get him into juvenile court.
Now, Dietz is currently charged as an adult, as all juveniles are when they are facing homicide charges. For now, we're live in Perry County. Lily Sexton, CBS 21 News.
Thanks for staying with us here at 5:30. I'm Joel D. Smith. Behind me, you see 11-year-old Clayton Dietz accused of shooting and killing his father in their Perry County home. He was in court for the first time today, being charged as an adult with criminal homicide after that shooting. Actually happened on his birthday, January 13th. CBS 21's Lily Sexton was outside the courthouse today, was checking things out inside as well. Saw a lot of different things. Were you trying to talk to him on the way in?
I tried. This was the first time we saw or potentially could hear from Clayton Dietz. So I did approach him on his way into the courtroom. First question I asked him was, We do want to hear from you, Clayton. So what happened on that day? He didn't have any comment, but I also followed up with, how are you doing? As we know, he's been in jail. He's only 11 years old. He didn't have any comment to that either.
What was his demeanor? I mean, it's an 11-year-old. He's being charged with a major crime as an adult, and he's coming into court for the first time.
Right. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Just his demeanor. How did he seem to you? You're up close and right next to him.
His demeanor, right. The entire courtroom is very quiet, very on edge. And so was Clayton. He was in the front of the courtroom with his mother. He only said a few words today. He entered the judge twice. And then the one thing I heard him say outside of that interaction with the judge was he said to his mom, "It hurts," while referencing the shackles on he had handcuffs on, he had cuffs on his feet as well. So he was very timid, very, very scared to be in this courtroom. That's how I read his interactions, at least. And I would say that was kind of the how everyone in that courtroom was feeling, all of the family members that I was surrounded by.
He's very young, but the rules in Pennsylvania are very clear. If you're over 10 years old and you are accused of killing someone, you are charged as an adult. That's the way it works. But let's talk about what happened in the courtroom today. What was the process in there?
The hearing itself was very fast. It was under 5 minutes because they waived their right to this preliminary hearing. So outside of the courtroom, I was able to speak to the lawyer, and he kind of laid out his plans for me very quickly about what he wants to do for this trial and his reasoning for waiving this hearing. And he said that he wants to try to get Clayton to be charged as a juvenile. So that process would be kind of unprecedented because, as you said, here in Pennsylvania, if you're charged with homicide, you're charged as an adult. So we have to see how this plays out.
It's very difficult to get it kicked back down to the juvenile level. But let's talk about his motivation that we've learned through court documents, the reason he says he ended up killing his stepfather that night.
What we've learned from court documents?
His reasoning for why he shot his father.
So what we know so far is that this took place on Clayton's 11th birthday. He told police in the affidavit, in the interview room, according to the affidavit, he told police that he was upset that his video game was taken away from him on his birthday. So that night he got up and he was looking for that Nintendo Switch, and instead he found a gun. And according to police, that's when he shot his father while he was sleeping. According to police in that interview room, they asked him what he thought would happen when he shot his father. And he said that he hadn't thought that far.
Right.
So I don't think this, according to this affidavit, it wasn't a thought out plan. It was something that happened in the moment.
Yeah. When he was looking for it, he ended up finding the keys instead to the gun safe. And then we know what happened after that, according to police. All right. Lily Sexton, thanks.
So, guys, let me just show you. I do have a playlist here. I put it on my so it's this one. So even though there's no name of this one, kind of says title from the Tepe murders to Celeste Rivas Hernandez, your question answered. I added this to the playlist because we talk a lot about Clayton Dietz because a lot of people are asking questions. But then the two other videos in this playlist are an 11-year-old charged with as an adult, the Clayton Dietz case, and Pennsylvania juvenile law. That kind of breaks down how Pennsylvania operates when it comes to trying a juvenile. First, they're sentenced as an adult, or first they're looked at as an adult, and then, as you can see, the lawyers say no, he's going to go through as a juvenile. They're going to push for juvenile. And then this was a great dialogue that I had with a mental health. How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to it. We talked about the family dynamic here, how hard it is for now the mom who probably wants to defend her adopted son. It's a good amount of discussion that we have here that I feel covers a lot. So these two videos I would definitely recommend. This one first, and then that one, the one I'm showing now. But let me give you the updates that relate to the court, and I'll give you a little background as well. This is what I got so far. So on January 13, 2026, in Duncannon, Pennsylvania, 11-year-old Clayton Dietz allegedly shot and killed his adopted father, 42-year-old Douglas Dietz, in their family home in the early morning hours on the boy's 11th birthday. There's a picture of the family here. The adopted family. I think they adopted him in 2018. Clayton's mother, Jillian Dietz, told investigators that she and Douglas had adopted Clayton in 2018 when he was about 3 years old, and that the family had celebrated his birthday that night by singing happy birthday before she went to bed shortly after midnight, and Douglas came to bed a little later. According to the affidavit, Clayton said he had been having a good day with his parents until his dad told him it was time for bed and took away his Nintendo Switch. After that, he reported going to look for the console and instead finding a key in his father's drawer. That key opened the bedroom gun safe where he found a revolver. Court documents state that Clayton admitted he took the gun from the safe, loaded the bullets, walked over to his father's side of the bed, cocked the hammer, and fired a single shot in Douglas's head while he slept. When troopers asked what he thought would happen when he pulled the trigger, he allegedly said he was mad and had not thought about that. Jillian told police she woke up to a loud noise and a smell like fireworks, tried to wake Douglas, then turned on the light and realized that what she thought was water dripping was actually his blood. She said that when Clayton came into the bedroom, she shouted something like, "Daddy's dead," and he ran downstairs saying, "My dad's dead," while a trooper was speaking with Jillian and Clayton in the kitchen. The trooper reported hearing Clayton say, "I killed Daddy." Let me read that again. Jillian told police she woke up to a loud noise and a smell like fireworks, tried to wake Douglas, then turned on the light and realized what she thought was water dripping was actually his blood. She said that when Clayton came into the bedroom, she shouted something like, "Daddy's dead," and he ran downstairs saying, "My dad's dead." While a trooper was speaking with Jillian and Clayton in the kitchen, the trooper reported hearing Clayton said, "I killed Daddy." And by the way, in the show I did with the mental health expert, we talked about premeditation for an 11-year-old. It's a very interesting dialogue. I would highly recommend you watch it if you kind of want the full scope of what we covered here, because we go not just about the facts, but we dive in deep on how do you hold accountable an 11-year-old. That's going to be the question here that we wanted to try to get ahead of. The affidavit notes that Clayton had a large contusion above his left eye and a small cut on his lower lip when officers saw him. So far, there's no detailed public explanation of how he got those injuries or what they might indicate about any physical altercation before the shooting. Police were called to the home around 3 a.m., where they found Douglas lying on his back with a gunshot wound to the head. Clayton was arrested that night and charged with criminal homicide. Beyond those points, what's publicly known about family background is limited. That Jillian and Douglas adopted Clayton in 2018, were raising him together in the home, and that no prior abuse history or major incidents in the household have been laid out in the release charging documents. Now, in Pennsylvania, any homicide charge automatically begins in adult criminal court, regardless of the defendant's age. That automatic rules by Clayton at 11 is in the adult system and facing an adult criminal homicide charge. The way out of adult court is through a decertification or transfer hearing in the Court of Common Pleas. At that hearing, the defense has the burden to show the child is amendable to treatment and rehabilitation in the juvenile system and does not need adult-level punishment to protect the public. It's funny. Juvenile system is more towards rehabilitation, but as they go into adults, about punishment. Well, we rehabilitate on the adult side, too, so I think we should be a little bit clear with that. But he is 11 years old. I just wanted to present that we do rehabilitate. And I hate the word punishment. I use accountability. So basically, is he considered still a threat? So again, at the hearing, the defense has the burden to show the child is amenable to treatment and rehabilitation. The juvenile system does not need adult-level punishment to protect the public. Raya Saha Shah of the Juvenile Law Center has criticized this structure, saying it puts the burden on the child and doesn't fully account for age, development, or family context when serious charges automatically start in adult court. We mentioned this in the shows I did in the past on this. If Clayton case stays in adult court and he is ultimately convicted, he faces adult scale sentencing, potentially including life, though any punishment would be constrained by constitutional limits on juvenile life terms. If the case is transferred to juvenile court, the system authority over him would generally end around age 21, with the emphasis on schooling, treatment, and supervision rather than decades in an adult prison. And the new thing is the mother who lost her husband is probably going to stand behind him. I can't imagine having to be her. On February 19, 2026, this is the most recent, Clayton had his first major appearance in the Perry County Courthouse in New Bloomfield. Video from that day shows him arriving, we saw just after noon, for a 1:30 p.m. hearing, handcuffed on his wrist and ankles and surrounded by probation officers. At one point, and at one point he was tripping over the shackles as he was led inside. CBS 21 reporter standing nearby overheard Clayton tell his mother it hurts, referring to how the cuffs and shackles felt. Inside the courtroom, reporters described a very quiet, tense atmosphere with Clayton seated up front next to his mother, speaking only a few words to the judge. When the judge asked him directly if he understood and agreed with his lawyer's decision, Clayton answered yes, and the entire proceeding lasted under 5 minutes. A CBS 21 reporter who watched him in the room said he appeared timid and very scared, consistent with an 11-year-old facing adult homicide charges for the first time in open court. At that hearing, Clayton waived his preliminary hearing. Preliminary hearing in Pennsylvania only decides whether there's probable cause to continue the case, not whether the defendant is guilty or innocent. By waiving it, the case now marked waived for court on the Perry County docket and moves straight into the Court of Common Pleas, which will handle future motions and any eventual trial. Waiving the prelim also prevents early live testimony from witnesses and keeps some details out of open court questioning at this stage, which can help the defense avoid locking in witness testimony and feeding the media cycle before they fully develop strategy. After the hearing, his attorney, Dave Wilson, declined to explain why they waived the prelim, but told CBS 2 or 21 and other outlets that his goal is to get Clayton's case moved into juvenile court, not to leave him in the adult system. Multiple reports say he plans to request a decertification hearing in the Court of Common Pleas, where a judge will decide whether the case stays in adult court or is transferred to juvenile jurisdiction. As of now, there is no specific public date for that transfer hearing coverage. There's no public date for that transfer hearing. Coverage frames decertification as the expected next step, not yet formally scheduled, though Wilson has indicated they expect to be back in court around May. In the meantime, Clayton remains charged as an adult with criminal homicide and is held in adult custody with no bail. Experts in juvenile justice and child mental health say this case forces 4 uncomfortable questions: Clayton's age, his ability to understand consequences, his developmental and mental health profile, and whether automatic adult charging makes sense for children this young. They point to his reported statement that he was mad and hadn't thought about what would happen as very typical of how kids describe impulsive actions, but they stress that doesn't by itself answer legal questions about competence or criminal intent. We covered that in the show I have with the mental health expert. Advocates highlight Pennsylvania's automatic adult homicide rule as unusually severe for kids and argue that cases like this show why the law should be revisited. Mental health commentators emphasize that a real picture of who Clayton is, possible diagnosis, trauma history, developmental testing will likely emerge through confidential evaluations and a later decertification hearing, not in early public filings and TV clips. And mainstream media have zeroed in on the same core themes: that Clayton is adopted, that the killing allegedly followed a dispute over a Nintendo Switch on his 11th birthday, that he accessed a locked safe with a key, and that he's currently an 11-year-old in shackles in an adult courtroom while his lawyer fights to move him into the juvenile system. Social media commentary is full of people saying they have never seen someone this young handled so publicly as an adult defendant, asking whether there is more to the family story, whether there were unreported issues in the home, and whether an 11-year-old should ever face adult time. Questions that the upcoming decertification fight in the Court of Common Pleas is expected to put directly in front of the judge. So the question is, should he be tried as an adult? That's the question. And if you watch my second video on this, I would recommend you watch all 3 just for my scope. The second video with the mental health expert, we explore all those angles. And I would love for the discussion to go on that. I mean, what do we do with an 11-year-old who's committed this crime? Can this be premeditated? I mean, do they really understand the consequences of their actions? I mean, he did walk up to the bed, loaded the gun, or maybe the gun was loaded, I don't know, cocked it back and shot his father. A lot of premeditation there. I mean, is rehab enough? Is juvenile system, will the juvenile system help him feel some level of empathy towards what he's done? And then by the age of 21, we can release him and feel safe that this isn't a monster in the making? Or do we have greater concerns that says, 11 years old or not, he may have things that won't be amendable to treatment, and we should know that this could be a monster in the making? How scary is that? And then you got the mother in the middle that is going to defend her adopted son, even though she lost the love of her life. So my heart goes out to this family. We touched on that dynamic as well, but I would love your thoughts. As always, guys, if you like the material, I have Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. Link to that's in the description, as well as top of the YouTube channel. Please watch the other videos I have. Get me those subscribers. I'm trying to build my network so I can get some really good, strong guests on. And I have I just did a good video on child grooming that I think you guys would definitely enjoy watching. It's the video right before this one. As always, guys, stay safe.